Welcome to another episode of the ChamberSOUTH Spotlight. This is Alexander Noda, your host today, also part of the ChamberSOUTH member board. And extremely excited today. I'm here with Jennifer Diaz from the Everglades Foundation. She's actually the VP of Education. Extremely excited to have you here, Jennifer, today. Thank you for being here, being part of ChamberSOUTH.
Well, thank you for inviting us and having me here today.
Awesome. So why don't we start with giving me a little bit of your career trajectory?
Sure. It's been a journey. I graduated Florida State University, then Noda Southeastern University, but I started out in nursing, actually.
Wow.
I went to tech school. We have some really amazing tech school here in South Florida. And then I went to college and I learned that I loved educating people about their health and about different areas of their life. And so education seemed like a natural track. And so got married, started a family, and realized that that teacher schedule worked really well with a family, right? And we would have our summers off, and you'd be on vacation when they were on vacation. And so I worked with Miami-Dade County Public Schools for a number of years, both teaching and at the district office, handling some of those larger grants. And then about 10 years ago, I moved to the Everglades Foundation because I really wanted to work with teachers and help the school districts minimize those barriers and make sure that we were teaching science, but specifically about our environment in the classroom.
Very cool. What triggered that move?
When I started teaching, it was really hard for me to get my hands on science curriculum and materials.
Okay.
And I was spending a lot of time, this is before World Wide Web was this big thing, and I could just get anything on Teach for Teachers, and everything was so accessible. I was going into the portables and talking to the district office, who are incredible people at Miami-Dade County Public Schools, but trying to find the resources for experiments I wanted to do, and film canisters for rockets, and the Education Fund was a great place for that too, because they have a warehouse where teachers could go in and find all this recycled material. But it was hard, and I was spending a lot of money on science stuff, on lessons that I wanted to teach in science, because we didn't have a lot of that stuff. And so I learned very quickly that science education was so important to our students. It's one of the places where you get to investigate, get dirty, experiment. And so I wanted to do more of that.
Beautiful. So why don't you tell me then about the Everglades Foundation?
Sure. So we're a non-for-profit. We're over 30 years old, and we work on restoring America's Everglades for the benefit of Florida. And it is one of the largest restoration projects in the world. We work on it with 3 pillars: science, policy, and education. And so I have the benefit of running the education program, and it's pretty amazing, because being a teacher and an educator in an organization that has, over 13 PhD scientists, I got that real science at my fingertips every day. And so our education team is 8 strong now across the state of Florida.
Very cool.
And what we do is we design curriculum and programs for teachers by teachers. And so we are working with over 7,000 teachers on a year-to-year basis, training over 1,000 a year on the curriculum that we wrote, and also on the programs that we offer.
So bringing back those resources you never had back into the classroom.
That's exactly what we do. And through the tremendous support of our board of directors in this organization has been doing this for many years. Education program is only 10 years old, actually this year. So we're here on our 10th anniversary for education for many years, and realizing that there were not many people, South Floridians, that understood where the Everglades were, how important it was to our livelihood, to our economy. And so there was a lot of work to be done. And in 2014, our board of directors launched this education program. And that is the year that I left Miami-Dade County Public Schools to help to spearhead it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Tell me about, aside obviously from your background, how does someone get an opportunity like this? What does it take? What are you doing? Walk me through the day in the life
of mine every day. We talk about this all the time with my team. So in 2014, it was just myself, right? I was just running around with this clear passion that I wanted to make sure that every student and every teacher in our state had this information and these tools and resources. And I get to work with some of the most amazing people like Everglades National Park and their rangers, Yvette Cano, and many other environmental education organizations that do this, right? And so I ran around for a year, knocking on school doors and knocking on private schools and parochial and charter schools and saying, I want you to have this. No, we're not buying anything this year. It's like, I know, it's free. That's another thing. I get to offer it for free, with our support and our donors and our corporate and foundation giving allows us to train these teachers for free, give them the stipend and continuing education credits, but also give them a bag of materials.
That's incredible.
Everything they need to teach. And so the first couple of years looked very much me and my small car running around the state, letting everybody know that this was a thing. And for many years, they would call me and think I was Everglades National Park and say, hey, can I book a field trip? I'm like, well, no, actually, we want to train you and give you tools to teach the lessons before you go out on your field trips. And so today looks very different, but our team and I joke all the time that every day is completely different for us. So one day we're at a STEM night for a local school. The next day we're judging science fair projects. The next day we're writing grant reports for the amazing work that we've done in a certain region or across the state, or we're running our annual teacher symposium, which is over 200 teachers from across the state, or adding to our curriculum. So every day really just looks different.
Such a massive impact, it sounds like.
Such a massive impact. Yeah, we reach about over 200,000 students. But the reward really goes to our teachers.
Yeah.
Right. So we do the hard work and we get the materials and the lessons and all the curriculum you need, which by the way are aligned to standards. So it's not another thing to teach. It's what you currently have to teach anyways. But teachers, they're the heroes, right? They're the mediators for our students,
Absolutely.
Right? And so there was a research project done by NEEF, which is an environmental organization, and it says that 90% of students get their environmental information from their teachers.
Wow.
And so we are teacher focused. What we want to make sure is that teachers have everything they need, all the knowledge, all the information, so that they can share it with their students.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Makes sense to me. Now that you explained that way, it completely makes sense.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you did a lot of door knocking and shaking hands and kissing babies, like my boss always says.
That's right.
Tell me about the importance of relationships in what you do. How do you guys get involved with the chamber? Tell me more about that.
Of course, yeah. Stakeholders is very important, right? So particularly environmental education, the first couple of years is awareness and knowledge. We did a survey with our communications team that still over 90% of South Floridians do not know their water comes from the Everglades. And so we've missed generations and the ability to educate them on not, that it's our water supply, but this is such an incredible ecosystem.
Yeah.
And to not be scared of it and to embrace it and to learn all that's happening under the water, right? Because it's under the water that's happening in our aquifer. That's so important. And so it's just incredible that we get to do this every single day.
Yeah. Very cool. Tell me about how did you get involved with the ChamberSOUTH specifically?
So Chamber does these amazing luncheons, and we get to, like you said, building stakeholdership is part of what we have to do to make sure that you're engaging with your community partners, that you understand the work they're doing, and that we work together to benefit everybody in our communities.
Absolutely.
And without partnerships, you really can't do that very well, right? And so partnerships for us is really, really important. ChamberSOUTH is one of those organizations that, we get to sit down and sit with our community members and learn what's new and what's happening and share our expertise, or also share kind of what could we do better and how do we support each other. And that being part of Chamber helps us to do that.
Absolutely. As part of the board in ChamberSOUTH, we definitely appreciate you and thank you for all you do in the community.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Tell me what the future looks like for the Everglades Foundation.
Yeah, that's great. So we're restoring the Everglades, and the past 10 years have been incredible. I mean, if you've been over Tam Emery Trail the last couple of years, you're already going over some of those bridges.
Yeah.
For the first 100 years is moving fresh, clean water south to Everglades National Park and ultimately to Florida Bay. But there'll be a time where this next generation will need to take it on, and we'll need to protect it into perpetuity. And so what I see is the next generation really understanding the importance of our environment, our ecosystem, and making really good decisions on its behalf. Yeah, I think that's where our future lies.
And just like you have said today, a recurring topic on this conversation is like it starts with education.
It does.
How are they going to have that calling to continue this mission if they don't even know about it. So,
that's exactly right.
So how do we learn more about the Everglades Foundation, what you guys are doing? How do we get more informed?
Yeah, so we have a website, right? And we have some fantastic social media channels, particularly our Everglades Foundation Instagram page really keeps you up to date on what's happening in all of our pillars. And so you'll find our scientists, you'll find our partners, you'll find our policy team, and you also find our education team, always telling you and keeping you up to date on what's happening. We have an incredible communications team that does that on multiple platforms. As you can imagine, nowadays, you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram.
Everywhere on the book.
You're on everywhere on the book. So at the foundation level, I think it's really important to follow us on our social media. And also on our website, get connected. Get our newsletter and stay connected. We always say, that's the best way is to start educating yourself to figure out how will you give back, right? Will you share it? Will you share it with your school? If you're a voter, right, you're going to understand these topics. You're going to understand kind of what's happening on the ballots and figure out what you want to vote for, and ultimately understanding the science. I think that's really important to understand the science is what's happening in your own backyard. I say it all the time, and I took for granted until I got to the Everglades Foundation. I didn't know our water all came from the Biscayne Aquifer, right? So I think this is really important knowledge. This economy, this water economy, drives South Florida.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's why people come here. And I have students now go out into the environment and get excited because they can recognize the organisms that live there. And not just the wading birds, the spoonbills and the great blue herons, but the plants and the water and what's under the water. And if you ask a student now, if they've been through one of our schools or our champion schools, they'll tell you where the water comes from. They'll tell you it's the aquifer. They'll tell you how it's replenished. They'll tell you dry season and wet season. They have so much knowledge and information. So website, definitely. Social media for sure. But for educators, not just teachers, for any educator or parent or grandparent, evergladesliteracy.org. That is our education website. It's connected to our foundation website, but everything is there for free. You have reading passages, you have coloring books, you have deeper scientific lessons and investigations. And then you also can meet our high school ambassadors that are online as well. So evergladesliteracy.org is where you get all your education information.
You just brought me back to this props. Tell me more about them.
I like these props because while I was driving around in my car for the first year, the teachers were telling me, Jenny, can you please put the names? We have these, our lessons are very engaging.
Okay.
They're cards and you sort them and you're building models with Play-Doh and you're really, building aquifers and cups. But my kindergarten teachers would tell me, I didn't have the names of the organisms. And it was a lesson where you had to decide what organism lived in the Everglades and which one did not. And many of the ones that did not, you would see at zoos or aquariums, right? And so they were having a hard time figuring it out. I didn't put the names of them on the organisms. And like, Jenny, we need you to put the names on all these cards because our students don't know what lives in the Everglades. And so from a bears live here, Florida panthers live here, and they didn't know that, and they were really when you talk to the environment to kids, they're really engaged. They want to know about these plants and animals that call it home, and so. These little guys just remind me, this is our pre-K curriculum, and they build binoculars and they walk around the classroom and they find these animals in their classroom and they pretend they're on an airboat ride. And so it always reminds me kind of why we do what we do, right? For our water supply, but also, for the over 70 threatened and endangered species that call the Everglades home.
Incredible. Looks like me a little bit, right?
A little resemblance.
As you know, we serve the business community.
Of course.
So how could we contribute to your mission?
Yeah. So first is spread our awareness, right? Get engaged, stay connected. And if you're an organization that likes to give, we want to train every teacher in this state, right? Every teacher in this county. And so giving is really important. The work that we do goes right back to our programs and right directly to our classrooms. And so giving is very important for nonprofits, as you know. And so stay engaged, educate yourself, and donate when you can.
Phenomenal. My call to action for you guys, all the Chamber South beautiful members out there, is just find more information about the Everglades Foundation, support them in any way you can. And Jennifer, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here today.
Great. Thank you.
Really, really love the conversation and really, really excited to see what you guys do in the future.
I appreciate that. Thanks for your support.
Of course. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.